Mr. President, there was a lot of interest about whether you would end up wearing a mask today.
Yeah.
Could you just take us through your thought process of why you decided not to wear a mask?
I had one on before. I wore one in this back area, but I didn't want to give the press the pleasure of seeing it. But no, where I had it in the back area, I did put a mask on.
Did you have the goggles on too as well, sir?
I did. I had goggles and a mask right there.
But why would you not be?
And here's another one.
Why would you not be wearing it? For
Because in this area,
why would you not be wearing it here, sir?
Not necessary here. Well, everybody's been tested, and I've been tested. In fact, I was tested this morning, so it's not necessary.
But the executives are wearing them.
Well, that's their choice. I was given a choice, and I had one on in an area where they preferred it, so I put it on, and it was very nice. It looked very nice, but they said not necessary here. Yeah, please.
What about the example that it would set for other Americans?
Well, I think it sets an example. I think it sets an example both ways, and as they say, I did have it on. Thank you.
If you're looking for a microcosm for how seriously this administration is taking the pandemic, it's the President of the United States refusing to take even the most basic precaution in public because he'd rather see the press get rightfully upset than offer a decent example for the American people. Keep in mind, wearing a mask at all times inside a closed facility isn't only Ford's company policy, but Michigan state policy as well. Michigan State Attorney General even wrote a letter stressing that the policy be followed. Policy, mind you, that was enacted to keep people alive. But Trump refuses to wear one because he believes that it makes him look weak, according to his aides. And on that matter, I'll just say, if I had to choose between a leader who took basic steps to help keep fellow citizens healthy and alive, and a guy too insecure to allow himself to wear a mask during a global pandemic because he's concerned about what he'd look like, I think it's pretty clear which one comes across as weak. Trump even defends his decision, saying, quote, "I think it sets an example both ways." In other words, he admits that by not wearing a mask around other people, he is setting an example for his followers. He is actively and consciously trying to influence people to do something that he knows is more dangerous for everyone, because he personally doesn't want to suffer the minor inconvenience of wearing a mask. Because per usual, the important thing here is Donald Trump and his own ego. By the way, this whole setting an example both ways thing is just the latest instance of Trump's both sidesism, wherein he insists on propping up the quote, other side that, I should be perfectly clear, does not deserve to be propped up. From defending the neo-Nazis in Charlottesville to pointing to Antifa in the immediate aftermath of the El Paso and Dayton shootings, to now spotlighting those who refuse to wear a mask and who evidence has shown are one of the ways that this virus is actually continuing to spread, the guy is physically incapable of not aligning himself with people who do not deserve recognition, who are dangerous, who are racist, and who are actively hurting others. Even that most basic principle of not showering praise on the worst humans has managed to evade Donald Trump. Now, I should note, in fairness, that according to a statement by Ford, Trump had reportedly worn a mask in the beginning. Ford said, quote, "Bill Ford encouraged President Trump to wear a mask when he arrived. He wore a mask during a private viewing of 3 Ford GTs from over the years. The president later removed the mask for the remainder of the visit." But the logic here is absurd. What is the point of wearing the mask in private, but then when it actually matters, when he's actually around workers and reporters and being seen by millions of Americans on TV, taking it off? The purpose of the mask is to keep not only yourself, but others around you safe. It's not something that's reserved for quiet moments alone. He's not a 13-year-old wearing a night guard. This is the same guy who's supposed to be overseeing the response to the pandemic that he is currently undermining on a daily basis with his refusal to simply wear a mask and set an example for the American people. And if nothing else, it shows the cognitive dissonance at play here, because Trump will walk around to anyone with a pulse and proclaim that his administration's response to the pandemic has been a 10 out of 10, absolutely perfect, couldn't be better, and yet at the same time, he won't even stand behind the simplest aspect of it. He won't even put on a mask and set a decent example for millions of Americans who unequivocally would be safer, would be less likely to spread and catch the virus if they wore a mask. In other words, he's ensuring that his own responsibility of containing the spread of the virus is destined to fail. And yet at the same time, it makes complete sense, because if nothing else, we know that Donald Trump values his ego, his vanity, above everything else. Above containing the spread of the virus, above protecting our healthcare system and frontline workers, above all of his supporters' lives. For Donald Trump, this entire thing, since all the way back in January, has been solely about one person and one person only, himself.